Tember, tier list Tember, tier list Tember, tier list Tember. Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone in between, welcome to the second video of Tier List Tember. And today, we are tackling a FNAF World tier list. If you don't know what this is, it's basically just, hey, you know those scary robots? Let's make an RPG out of them. I will be tier listing all the characters based on their viability. Also, there are, for some reason, on this tier list that I found, 2 different versions of all the Halloween characters. I don't know why that is. With that said, let's get started. Freddy. Freddy is probably the most okay of the starter characters. I wouldn't necessarily call him bad, but he's definitely not amazing. Freddy has 3 attacks. First up, he has Mic Toss, which does a little bit of damage to a single target. Not super useful. Pizza Wheel, which is a multi-hit. And most importantly, Birthday, temporarily increasing all the stats of all his allies. Honestly, you can just entirely ignore Mic Toss. It's a terrible attack. But in general, the second 2 abilities are much better when it comes to actual versatility. Multi-hits are the name of the game most of the time because it just, even if you're against a single target, you have a chance to hit the target multiple times. And Birthday is just incredibly useful because it makes it so all of your stats are better, allowing you to hit harder, survive longer, and attack more. So, in general, I'm going to get him a high-ticket item. He's not amazing, but those second 2 abilities definitely help keep him on Team 1 whenever you're starting off. Second is Bunny. Bunny is a bunny. Being serious though, Bunny is probably one of the best starting characters, even if he also has an entirely useless move in Bite. Seriously, who uses this thing? Bash Jam is a multi-hit that hits just about everyone, and he also has a healing ability in Happy Jam. That means that he can not only deal damage to every enemy on screen, he can also heal. And honestly, sometimes you need a heal more than you need buffs. So I'm going to put him a little bit above Freddy. Not into the next tier, but definitely high ticket item. Next up is Chica, and Chica is really funny because all she has is healing abilities. She technically has a damaging attack in Poppers, but it's such a pathetic heal and attack that you should just never use it. She has a heal over time with Regen Song, and she has Cupcakes for just an instant burst of a lot of healing. I usually put her on Team 1, just to help with the early game, especially on hard mode to keep my characters alive, but in general, she's only okay. I'm going to put her in the back room because she's incredibly useful at first, but the second you get a better healer, you're probably going to dump her for someone else. Honestly, her role can be done by normal Bonnie in the base game. Next up we have Foxy, and he's probably one of the more solid characters. He's got Hook, which, again, what is it with the Gen 1 characters all getting just an absolutely terrible move at the start? Which is one of the best moves a unit can have, because that just instantly stops whatever the opponent is doing. It won't cancel out attacks like the normal attack, but it can cancel out dangerous attacks like Snowball or Toxic Bite. If you see their text pop up, and you can click Jump Scare, you can just instantly stop that attack from coming out. He's also got Hot Cheese, which is a damage over time move if it's actually touching the opponent. So I'll give him Real Showstopper for Jump Scare, but Hot Cheese only sort of helps, and Hook is absolutely terrible. Toy Bonnie is next, as the first of the toy characters for some reason. Toy Bonnie is basically exactly the same in my eyes as normal Bonnie. While he has Happy Jam for guaranteed heals, Bonnie has Mystery Box, which can be a couple of things. It can be Jump Scare, it can be Poppers, I think it even can be Happy Jam, but he also has Munchies for damage over time. I think, especially now that I consider the fact that he can get Jump Scare, I'll put him a little above Bonnie, but they're very close. Like if Bonnie is an 8 out of 10, Toy Bonnie is an 8.1. Next up, it's Toy Chica, and she's basically a much better version of normal Chica. Not only does she have Freddy's birthday ability, able to buff the stats of her allies, she also has Water Hose and Cupcakes. Cupcakes for the guaranteed healing, of course, but Water Hose instantly KOs an opponent, assuming they aren't a boss, if they have 33% or less HP. And that is insanely useful, because during the early game, when you don't have a whole lot of damage, if you can just get them to that 33% ratio, she can instantly take them out, and that is super useful. If you haven't played the game, you're going to learn that things that guarantee insta-kills, or just insta-kills in general, really nice. And Freddy. Toy Freddy, to be precise. What a terrible unit. He's basically got the worst skill out of everyone in the original roster. He has Mic Toss, so a pathetic amount of damage. He's got Party Favors for both a pathetic amount of damage and a pathetic amount of healing. And Speed Song, which is probably the best of the songs, but it's still absolutely abysmal. He's never a character I rely on at all. And finally, Mangle. Mangle is okay. She's got Party Ball, just like Toy Bonnie, but she also has Hook and Poppers. Hook, as I've described, is a terrible single-hit attack, and Poppers might be useful. The more you throw out, the more damage they deal when they eventually go off, but you could finish the fight before the Poppers even go off. Especially because you can't guarantee what's in the mystery box, and when the Poppers go off, I'm going to put her in used for parts. Balloon Boy! Well, he's a bit better than Mangle. Oh my god, are you for real? Balloon Boy is alright. He's got Hot Cheese for damage over time, and he's also got his titular balloons, which, while they do have a chance for pretty good damage, they also have a decent chance for pretty pathetic damage. He's also got Munchies, so I guess that's even more guaranteed damage over time, but since they don't last anywhere near as long as Hot Cheese, it's kind of up in the air. I think I'm going to put him in use for parts as well. Now, JJ is a bit of a funny case, because she's so much better. Well, not so much better, but she is much better than Balloon Boy. She has balloons for more random damage, and poppers, which sucks, but I guess maybe you could use her and Mangle together to really combo up those poppers. More importantly, she's got Unscrew. Unscrew has a 30% chance to instantly kill an opponent, and that is incredibly useful. It can work on bosses, despite what the wiki says, but it's way lower. But even still, it is a 30% chance to just instantly KO an opponent. So yes, if your luck is bad, that's not a whole lot of anything happening. But if your luck is good, you can instantly take out dangerous targets. Plus, I think there's a hidden mechanic in the game where if a enemy has exposed robot bits or just is made of metal, Unscrew has a much higher chance of working. If you go to the graveyard area, then at least from my experience, it usually is a guaranteed success against the trap character. Because of this, I'll put her as a hot ticket item, because that Unscrew is incredibly useful, especially if you know how to use it. Next up, we have the Phantoms, starting with Phantom Freddy. And despite not having a single damaging attack, he's probably the best character we've had so far, because all three of his attacks nullify the entire enemy team's stat of some kind, either power, defense, or speed. This also works on bosses, and since if you're speed boosted, then Freddy can actually keep the debuffs going infinitely, as long as you just keep a rotation of power, defense, speed. Power, defense, speed. Doing so means that you're not fighting the enemy at their full strength and doing a bunch of damage to them since you're attacking more than they are and their defense is weakened. He's incredibly useful and deserves a spot on any team, basically. Watermelon Chica is a very similar character to ones we've already seen. She does have a new ability in Toxic Bite, which damages and poisons an opponent, and she also has Sludge to slow down an opponent, and Unscrew. So basically, she's like a JJ that can consistently deal damage and has a utility during boss fights in the fact that she can do damage over time and keep them slowed down. I'll put her in a real showstopper. Phantom Balloon Boy is basically the same thing as Chica. He's got an attack that poisons an opponent with his purple attack Poison Balloon, and he's got 2 different debuffs. Gloom Balloon, an attack exclusively used by him, but it's basically just Gloom Song, and Rainy Day to keep the buffs going. Speed is still the most important stat in the game, so I'm going to say he's not quite as good as Phantom Freddy, but he is still a real showstopper. Although it's still weird that he has an entirely exclusive skill to him, and I don't think there's any difference between it and Gloom Song. In fact, I think Gloom Balloon is a little worse because it doesn't happen immediately. Next we have Phantom Foxy, and he's basically just a better version of base Foxy. He still has Jump Scare, and he still has a damage over time in the form of Toxic Bite, which is better than Hot Cheese because it's guaranteed to hit and last quite a bit. But he also has Unscrew. Additionally, you can encounter him as early as the first area, because basically the first row you're guaranteed to have, and the second row is pretty much guaranteed to appear in the first or second area, so you can get him incredibly quickly and build him up to be a really powerful unit. He's great in the early game. Next up is Phantom Mangle, and ooh, I hate her. She does have, admittedly, kind of useful attacks. She has Toxic Bite and Pizza Wheel too, which is basically bigger, better Pizza Wheel. But she also has Mystery Box. This ability causes your party to randomly switch out with characters you may not even have yet. Here's the problem. They still give experience to the characters you don't have, rather than the characters you do have. So if you use this during a big boss fight, then the XP isn't going to your current characters, and they're not gaining XP. And the thing is that whenever you get a character, they're at level 1. But because you technically got experience for them, even when they weren't in your party, that means that they're set to both level 1 and level 1 HP, while requiring more XP than what a level 1 would normally require. So instead of having to get 100 XP to get them to level up, you have to get them sometimes 2,000 plus, or 5,000 plus, or maybe even more. This ability is entirely detrimental to you and the characters you're currently building, and characters you could be building later. And since you can't swap it out, there's always a chance that in the fever dream nightmare that is FNAF World's visuals, you'll click the wrong button. And instead of attacking, you'll have an entirely different party. So instead of that carefully calculated characters that you collected, you have random. That is garbage, and she's going in Paper Pals. Withered Bonnie. He's next. Withered Bonnie not only has an entirely unique ability in I-Beam, which deals a random damage but has a random chance of dealing a critical hit, which could potentially multiply it by 10 times the normal damage. He's also got the basic Pizza Wheel for multi-hits, and Unscrew too, meaning now that 30% chance to instantly KO a non-boss character is now a 50% chance. So you've got an even greater chance of it happening, and he's still got incredibly useful skills otherwise. I'm gonna put him front and center. Next up we have Withered Chica. Withered Chica has 3 attacks: Bite, Cupcakes, and Mystery Box 2, which is basically the same thing as Mystery Ball 1 that we saw on Toy Bonnie and Mangle, but now it can just access stronger attacks, like Freddles. She's pretty alright. You know, not incredibly useful, but I could totally see you swapping out one of the 5 characters below her for her, you know? Next up is Withered Freddy. And Withered Freddy would almost be just basically Freddy 1, because he has both Mic Toss and a useful stat skill, that being a Rainy Day. But he also has Escape Key, which is a multi-hit instant kill, although the chances of it succeeding are less than Unscrew 1. What those chances are, I don't know, I can't find it on the internet, but overall, that's pretty useful. I won't put him in real showstopper, because he still has an entirely useful skill in Mic Toss, but Rainy Day is really nice, and he also has that escape key, which could potentially just instantly kill the entire enemy team, and that can't be understated. Next up we have Withered Foxy, and Withered Foxy is basically just an upgraded version of the basic Foxy, kind of like all the other characters were. He's got Hook, just like regular Foxy, as well as Rainy Day, which seems to be a popular stat choice for these characters. I wonder if that's a reference to something. But he also has Hot Cheese too, which throws out 6 pieces of cheese instead of 3. Overall, it's a bit better. He doesn't have Jump Scare, which is really just a no-brainer. You think that, considering that, you know. So instead, I will have to keep him in the back room, because not in the back room. He's alright, you know, he's not a terrible pick, but you're not really gonna want to, like, keep him around for long. Hot Cheese 2 isn't even all that much stronger than basic Hot Cheese, it's just more. Next up we have what may be one of the funniest characters in this game, Shadow Freddy. Because Shadow Freddy is entirely instant kills. He has Unscrew, Escape Key, and Water Hose. So he could be an amazing character who could just absolutely obliterate every single random encounter, or he could be dead weight. And I think that's funny. Therefore, I'm going to put him in Real Showstopper, because, man, that is just really funny. He's just all insta-kills. It's all gambling with him. Shadow Freddy has a gambling addiction. Next up, we have the Marionette, because I guess Puppet is just not cool enough of a name. He, however, has Mystery Box, so you know he's not going to go up high. And considering that his other skills aren't that great as well, being just Escape Key for instant kills and Prize Ball 2, yeah, it's not that great. I'm going to put him a bit higher because the instant kills multi-hit could be nice, but it could also be terrible. But yeah, he sucks. I hate him so much. And he's really annoyingly rare. Like, I haven't talked a whole lot about character rarity so far, but I will oftentimes finish the final list of characters and still be missing him. It is so annoying. Phantom Marionette. Ooh. Why does he have teeth? He's a little bit harder to classify because, well, he does have Mystery Box for that fun chance of randomly losing everything. He does have Jump Scare and Hot Cheese for, you know, stunning and damage over time, but at the very least, Mystery Box 2 could have some really useful abilities in it. It's the question of whether you prefer a guaranteed chance to stop strong attacks or a chance for really strong attacks on your side. Golden Freddy may be one of the best characters for the mid-game of FNAF World. He's got Jump Scare to instantly stop any dangerous attacks, he's got Haunting to turn enemies to stone and prevent them from doing basic attacks, and he has Rainy Day 2 to instantly debuff their defense and deal a decent chunk of damage. So you can just immediately stop major threats, like bosses, from being, you know, threats by turning them to stone, preventing them from using their basic attack, Rainy Day 2ing them in order to deal damage and lower their defense for a decent chunk of the fight, and then if they ever try to do something super dangerous, Jump Scare them. That's incredibly useful. I don't think it's quite as good as Front and Center, because he can be pretty rare, but he is still incredibly good. Next we have Paper Pals, and I mean, you see what they're named after. Next up we have the 4 Nightmare characters, and something to be noted about them is that they all have an entirely useless skill. They all have Bite 2 as their first attack because, well, you saw the teasers. And while Bite 2 is still better than Bite, it is still just not that great. So their main viability is going to come from their other 2 attacks. Freddy has Sludge to slow down his opponents, and Freddles to just absolutely bombard the opponents with lots and lots of tiny little ankle biters. Like a preschool teacher. Overall, he's alright. Freddles isn't that great of an attack, to be totally honest, and there's plenty of better Sludge users you could use, so I would totally understand if you didn't swap someone out for him. He's not that great. Nightmare Bonnie is in a similar case, where he has Rainy Day 2, another very nice stat attack where you reduce enemies' defense and deal a decent chunk of normal damage. He also has Pizza Wheel too, but again, very not great abilities. I will say that at the very least, I think he's a bit better than Nightmare Freddy, but not enough to get him into the next tier. He's just kind of okay. Nightmare Chica has Bad Pizza, which is a area of effect poison attack, which is pretty good, and Water Hose, and the combo of having an area of effect poison ability and a instant kill if you're under this percent HP ability makes her pretty darn good. I'll put her in a real showstopper. Now, Nightmare Foxy is, again, kind of an upgrade of the Foxy, because I guess Scott was just kind of lazy for the Foxies. He's got Hot Cheese too, which is okay, but he also has Unscrew too. What this may mean is that him and Chica can be incredibly useful if you put them together. Have her use the pizza attack, have him use the hot cheese attack, and then have her spam Water Hose while he spams Unscrew. Just something's gonna work eventually. I'm going to put him in A tier because that Unscrew 2 is just a nice combo. Then we have the two Endo characters, and they're really good. Endo 1 has Power and Armor Song, which just instantly buffs your power and armor for quite a while. But he also has Endo Army, and that is where a lot of his utility comes in. Because do you remember Withered Foxy's ability to just shoot out a beam that could randomly crit for like 1,000 plus damage? What if he had 3 different versions automatically attacking while other characters and even Endo 1 himself could attack still? Endo Army is one of the best skills in the game, and thus he is one of the best characters in the game. Endo 2 is basically the same thing, but instead of having Power and Defense Song, he has Speed Song, arguably a better stat. He also has Endo Army and Neon Wall, which not only halves all incoming damage, but it also prevents you from being hit by alarm. So if you thought Endo 1 was good, Endo 2 is even better. Plush Trap, like the true annoying child he is incredibly toxic. He's got Toxic Pizza for area of effect poison damage, Toxic Bite for single target poison damage, and he has Sludge to make sure that the opponents don't hit at all. Honestly, he's not that bad. Like, I was expecting Plush Trap to be like an instant dump whenever I first got him, but he's pretty nice, especially if you've got a build that allows you to sustain for a long amount of time, and so the only determining factor is just dealing a lot of damage. Therefore, you could have him throw out a bunch of poisoning attacks and then just survive for quite a while. I don't think he's amazing, but I do think he is a high-ticket item. Endo Plush is the most filler character there has ever done, just in general, really. What is this character even doing here? He's not even an Endo of Plush Trap like his name would imply, because he's look at the teeth, look at the eyes. What are you doing here? I will admit though, his kit is pretty good. He's got Neon Wall, which as I described earlier is really good, I-Beam for potentially really high damage, and he also has Water Hose 2 to instantly remove any threats that are under 50% HP as long as they aren't a boss. So while I don't think he's as good as the other two Endos, he is a really, really good character, even if his inclusion just baffles the mind. Then we have what was originally the last row of characters. Springtrap is honestly kind of a disappointment for being this late in the game. He's got Bite, but why would you ever use Bite whenever there's Spring Locks, which does just so much more damage? He also has Rainy Day, 1, not 2, which is weird. And while Spring Locks is a really good ability, he's not much more than that. The best characters so far have been versatile in a number of ways, you know. Phantom Freddy, very early game character who can debuff literally every stat, and has a bit of a rotation to just keep it going. And since he doesn't have any sort of damaging attack, you're never like, oh, should I debuff or should I not? No, you're just always debuffing with him. Always, always, always. Phantom Foxy, he's got both a damage over time, which is incredibly useful, and the ability to just instantly nullify dangerous attacks, so that's great. Withered Bonnie has the ability to just instantly kill an opponent, either through getting a random crit with his laser beam, or with Unscrew 2, and he also has the alright ability Pizza Wheel for multi-hits. And then, of course, the Endos, who are, whenever I reorganize this to be in their actual order, probably going to be on the top. They're just incredibly amazing. But Springtrap? I'm not saying that. I'm going to put him as a high-ticket item. He's honestly not that much better than his plush variant, to be honest. Razorfwak, as I like to call him, is definitely a interesting unit. He doesn't have anything that can actually damage the opponents, but what he has instead is way, way better. He's got Mimic Ball, which allows you to just do an attack again. This includes buffs or debuffs, or, more importantly, damaging attacks. Summon one wave of Freddles? No, you get two. He's also got Haunting in order to cancel out opponents' normal attacks, and, most importantly, gift boxes. What do gift boxes do? Well, whenever your health hits 0, the gift box is used up and restores you to full HP. And he can spam this. So as long as Razorfwak himself actually stays alive, you can just spam this. More easily spammed if both teams have a gift box user. It's incredibly busted, and therefore he is front and center. Crying Child is... well, he's a child for one, but he's actually pretty good. He's got power and armor song exactly like Endo 1, but instead of Endo Army, he has gift boxes. Obviously, that's really good, so I'll give him front and center. If you need a healer to keep your party alive, then you need Funtime Foxy. No, not that one. This one. This one has Happy Jam 2, which not only heals your party, it also acts as a boost of speed, but it also has Cosmic Song in order to deal major damage to your opponents, and also gift boxes. So, duh. Front and center. Absolutely amazing. Nightmare Fredbear. Ooh, big old chompers. He's alright. He's got Toxic Bite 2, which is an even bigger version of Toxic Bite, as well as Freddles, and he's also got Mega Bite, which is basically just normal bite, but even bigger, and I think it also does bonus damage when it critical hits, but I could be wrong. It's kind of alright. Like, he's great at AoE, but he doesn't really pop like the other characters. He doesn't give consistent damage over time, he doesn't keep your party alive, he's just... okay. Nightmare is honestly the same thing, because he swapped out Freddles for Rainy Day 2. So, you know, the debuff is nice, but nothing amazing still. Fredbear is another character who's honestly kind of just alright. He's got Regen Song for regeneration, Mimic Ball for duplicating attacks, and Megabyte. That's kind of it, really. Again, I'm surprised by how many of these late-tier characters are just okay. Spring Bonnie is honestly kind of funny because she's easily the rarest character in the entire game, and she's basically just a clone of Funtime Foxy, but instead of having gift boxes, she has Spring Locks, which is okay. I'm gonna put her in a real showstopper, but it's really funny that you're the rarest character in the game, and you're not even close to being the best character in the game. Now it's time for the Halloween characters, who are basically busted across the board. Take Jacko Bonnie, for instance. He's got Haunting, as well as Jacko Bomb, which you think anything can survive this, normally. He's also got the ability Slasher, which gives a 1 in 10 chance of dealing 9,999 damage, and is basically the only way to beat the secret boss of the game. You just have to spam that and hope you get lucky. That's all you can really do. So, obviously, considering he's basically required, he's going front and center. Jacko Chica is much the same as Jacko Bonnie, but instead of having the incredibly and basically required slasher, she instead has Buzzsaw, which is another incredibly powerful damaging attack. But since that's definitely a downgrade from slasher, because while yes, it does consistently more damage, whenever the attack actually procs, it does a lot worse, I'm going to put her in Showstopper instead of front and center. Adventure Anim Dude is, well, probably one of the strongest characters in the game. He has Fourth Wall to have all incoming damage, Virus, which is just a pretty good damage over time, the best one in the game in fact, and is also pretty useful for the final boss. He's also got the Fourth Wall attack, which deals insane amounts of damage and entirely ignores enemy defense, so it's guaranteed to deal just a crap ton of damage. I don't think it's as much as Slasher. I think the damage output is about as much as a crit from an I-beam, but that's still incredibly massive for guaranteed damage. And considering that it hits the entire enemy party, it's practically guaranteed to wipe out anyone but the strongest opponents near the end game. I'm going to put him in real Showstopper, because while he's not necessary for the final area, he's incredibly important. But he does falter a bit, considering that he's, not slasher levels of damage. Another reason why he's not front and center is his unlock requirements. His unlock requirement is to beat Chica's Magic Rainbow in less than 3 minutes. If you know anything about that game, you'll know just how insanely, teeth-pullingly difficult that is. So, because his unlock requirements are so bullcrap, I'm not going to put him in the top tier. Chipper is a strange one, because despite being a Halloween tier character, he's kind of terrible. He's got Mimic Ball and Buzzsaw, which are both really good, but not only does he require beating Chica's Magic Rainbow at all, which, yes, is possible, but it's still insanely difficult, his first attack is Hocus Pocus, which has a chance of making the current enemies on screen weaker versions. That's basically just player mystery box, and that sucks. And while yes, that does affect the entire enemy team, it's still pretty terrible. I think I'm going to put him in high ticket item because, Buzzsaw and Mimic Ball are really good, but considering what you need to do to get him and what his first tier slot is, that's really bad, especially considering it's entirely useless against bosses. Nightmare Balloon Boy is another character that's kind of strange for this update. See, 2 of his attacks are basically kind of worthless. Megabyte, which is a good damage dealer, but not much else, and Balloons 2, which is another okay damage dealer, because they're a bit up in the air. Bubble Breath is entirely required for the final area. Whenever you're in the final area, you constantly take damage, and Bubble Breath prevents you from taking damage from this. It doesn't heal you, but it does prevent that damage, so that's pretty required. The rest of his skills being kind of trash suck, so I'm only going to put him in a real Showstopper, because, again, they're just mid to above average tier attacks. Nightmarion is another character who has a really weird ability in Prize Ball 2. You'd think an attack like that just wouldn't show up this late into the game, but he's here. His other 2 abilities, however, are incredibly useful, because not only does he have Bubble Breath, he has Fourth Wall. Something I think is ironic is that Balloon Boy, who is a much worse character, is harder to unlock than Nightmarion. To beat Nightmarion, you just need to beat Foxy.exe, which is pretty easy, all things considered. Meanwhile, to get Nightmare Balloon Boy, you need to get an A rank on Foxy Fighters, which is the best rank in the game, and is kind of hard to do so. Still, what are you gonna do? S rank. Coffee Pod is a supportive character, the only one in this batch to be supportive. He's got Mega Virus for damage over time, gift boxes for keeping your party alive, and Neon Wall 2. Neon Wall 2 allows your characters to be completely invincible for 5 seconds. Gonna be totally honest though, that isn't that great. Especially because, like, while that is useful if you see an attack coming, that can't really prepare you for anything. And if you know anything about the secret boss, then that's kind of useless. Overall, it's a very strange character, but I can't exactly deny that it's not good. I just don't think it's amazing. Then finally, we have Purple Guy. And Purple Guy is kind of funny. Not only does he have the near useless Hocus Pocus, but he's got Speed Song, the best song in the game, and Slasher, which, of course he would. He's Purple Guy. I think he's a bit worse than Jacko Bonnie because while he does have Slasher, most of his other abilities are kind of trash. But I do think I will put him in front and center because while he's not that great for most of the game, you're probably only going to use him in the final segment, and for the final segment, he's fine as a support character. And, of course, Slasher for the final boss. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. The FNAF World tier list. Do you think my opinions are right? Do you think they're wrong? And I'll see you nerds next time.